Also in here, you got to get up every morning, so when you want to get up every morning, you got to keep your hygiene up. Hygiene in the field is unbelievably important. If you become dirty in the field, it promotes disease. This is why short hair is great, because short hair is very hygienic. It's very easy to clean. So you must have an ablution kit. This is just a shaving kit case where you keep your soap, all that kind of jazz, where you shaving materials, all that. It all fits in one case. We'll be going that over at a later time, if there's a call for it. I have here a towel, which anyone who's ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy will tell you that any AWOL bag should have a towel in it, absolutely. This is a disgusting civilian towel, which is some sad shade of green. I put 2 Canadian Forces boot bands around it to try to make myself feel better, but alas, I cannot actually find an issue towel. I'm sorry. Moving along, we have the Ranger blanket. Now, the Ranger blanket is not actually called a Ranger blanket. It's actually a poncho liner for an American poncho. Of course, you use the Canadian Forces boot bands on it to keep it closed. But this blanket is so incredibly lightweight and so incredibly warm that in a lot of certain situations, you can just use this as an emergency blanket to shield yourself from the cold, what have you. If you're with someone or you possibly have refugees or whatever that you're trying to look after, this will keep people alive. I have personally, having only this blanket over very minimal clothing and it's as extreme of temperature as up to -15 to -20, and I found that this blanket has been more than adequate. If you use this in construction with a Gore-Tex bivy bag, you can almost go to -50. It's pretty amazing, provided you don't have wind. This is an amazing piece of gear that is surprisingly inexpensive. You can pick this up at almost any American Forces military base. It'll run you about $40. The only thing that you do have to do with it is a little hard, because it is so lightweight, to roll up. The proper way to fold any large item is as follows. Take the outsides, move to the middle, always. Outsides, move to the middle. Is this small enough? No. Outsides, move to the middle. Outsides, move to the middle. We can create a little bit of overlap because this is such a lightweight material. That's about the right size. You fold one end in, as such. You start from the opposing end and roll up. It's helpful if you have a friend who can stand on the other end. In lieu of that, you can just roll really, really tight. Keep most of the tension here. If you have a barracks box with you, you can clamp your end of your Ranger blanket in your barrack box, and you can actually get this surprisingly tight. If you have enough boot bands, there are people who actually have played football with a Ranger blanket for improvised sport munition. Once holding it as such, it's easiest, I find. Plant it here, take your boot band, throw it around, and do it up. There. That'll hold it, keep the tension on, spin it around, whip yourself in the legs really hard, and then do it up, and you've got a contained unit here. The Ranger blanket, when put together with the boot bands around it, is unbelievably light, and weight is always your enemy. Back over here, we've got our towel, our Ranger blanket, our change of clothes, our survival case. We have our ablution kit. Now we're going to get to our more sensitive electronics. You're going to need some communications gear of some type. Now this is just your standard, no-name brand. This is your standard, gigahertz radio. You can pick this up anywhere. It's important to have because a lot of people are using these now. A lot of WOGs have started taking these radios out and about with them just to see if they can randomly jump onto another band and communicate with them. This is why radio procedure is so important as well. If you don't have a walkie-talkie, you must have some method of comms, be it GPS sat phone, or you want to have your cell phone, or you want to have a ham radio with you, you want to have something that gives you long-distance communications. You must have comms, okay? And especially if you're part of a group of WOGs, you must all have the same comms and have preset radio procedures so you can communicate with each other in case of a major event. You want to have also a secondary set. This is not the set that goes with your essentials bag. This is a secondary set completely independent of your eyewear. If you happen to be so genetically dysfunctional as I am, where you have to wear glasses, you want to make sure you got as many extra pairs of glasses running around as possible. To receive world broadcasts in case things have gone surprisingly sideways, and to make sure you're even on the same planet if you suspect you may have fallen through a dimensional rift, this is a small shortwave radio. This one here happens to be made by Grundig. I picked it up for about $40 at my local big brand, big box, sort of multinational, core political, slave wage electronics store would have something like this. You want to have a set of Bear Guard or bear spray, capsium spray. This spray is to handle any wildlife, with 2 or 4 legs that happens to give you problems. This here is an extra timepiece. Now, this particular one is very, very handy because this is an old Casio Pathfinder which has a built-in compass. You should have a manual compass in your bag. You should have a manual compass, but if you don't have a good manual compass, you got to push with the cock you got. Make sure that you get yourself a compass of some type in your bag. You want to also keep an extra wallet. In this wallet, you want to keep $1,000 cash, and it should either be in American funds, and as well, if you have the money, it's always good to have small gold coins. That's what a lot of special operations do when in foreign countries. You should have your travel documents, any essential ID you'd have. If you happen to have ID with a collection of names on it, have that ID in there too. This is your paperwork in one location, ready to go at 20 minutes. Beneath this, we have a laundry bag. It's just a net mesh bag, but you'll see how that's used when we actually pack the whole thing together. Down here, this is your webbing. Your webbing is kept in your AWOL bag because you cannot really wear this kind of equipment in regular everyday civilian use. People get really too excited. This particular model is a rip-off of some South African webbing, which is for load bearing in the desert and whatnot. This is nothing more than a collection of pouches. We'll go over how to configure this at a later time, but it's important that you have either a vest or some webbing or something that fits on you that you can put a lot of equipment to carry with you. Remember, wherever you depart from with your AWOL bag, you may not be returning to ever again. So it's very important that you take only the most essential equipment with you. This has the ability to gather more equipment and bear it with you on your body. So this is why you want to have some webbing. I chose some South African webbing that may not be with you go with. There's lots of different ideas. Do a lot of research before you decide on webbing. There is no golden rule of webbing that is the best. That's a myth. To try to make a general issue load-bearing system is ridiculous. Down here we have something that every WOG should have with them and readily and easily accessible. This is a first aid kit. I've taken a Canadian Forces C9 pouch and put the essential first aid gear in there. You can customize your first aid kit to how you see fit, but keep it small and light. Don't be walking around with a trauma kit on you because you don't have the time. You got enough to look after yourself. That's about it. One WOG, one kit. A garbage bag. I would probably carry 2 or 3 of these, but it's important you at least have one ready to go garbage bag, and I'll show you why when we begin packing. Now in here I've got a laptop. Now you want to get yourself an old laptop. Laptops have come down in price so far now. You should be able to pick up an old P2 266 laptop for probably a couple $100. There's nothing wrong with that unit. No, you're not going to be playing any games on it. If you need to make sure you keep your documents, settings, anything like that that you want to keep a hold of for communications when you set up your mobile operations center, you want to make sure you keep that with you. So the best thing to do is to keep the most recent data backup. Inside here, you want to have the most recent data backup you have on either DVD or CD, however you can compress it down. There's all kinds of ways to make a complete system backup for the one in your house. Chances are, if you're going AWOL and you've got to get out now, make sure you destroy all of your data before you leave. It's your data. Don't leave data lying around. Don't be a data litter bug. If you leave your house and you're not going back there, somebody else is going to move into that house. They don't want to bother having to format their computer. You want to make sure that you erase all the data on their computer. That's just being, don't be a buddy fucker. Really. He's going to be getting a nice house, nice computer. It may as well be clean and ready for him to use. So just keep your data ready to go. As well, on the front here, you want to make sure you keep all your various laptop accoutrements. You want to have your Wi-Fi set up. You want to keep all of your, anything you need, your extra CDs, whatever. They all fit inside of this particular pouch here. I've attached a really pathetic Canadian Forces butt pack to this particular laptop bag, and it gets the job done. To go with your complete set of clothing, you want to make sure you get yourself a pair of footwear. You'll notice these are not boots. These are some cheap, no-name brand, like $20 special, made in some sweatshop in some foreign country by a kid who has to piss in a bucket. These are nothing more than lightweight extra footwear. You can use sandals, you could use those aquatic sock things that surfers use. Another really popular thing to use is rock climbing shoes, because they're fairly inexpensive. They're less than $100, and they give you a certain stealth capability when you're working with minimal conditions. The way you pack your shoes is you put toe to heel, compress down, and unfortunately, shoes by their very nature are hard to pack. So that's why I've gone with these ones. After much delay, the shoes are together. Moving down, another garment you want to have with you in your AWOL bag, and this is super important. You can do what I did, and I would steal your buddy's gloves. This is a set of Kevlar lined gloves. There's all sorts of companies that make really decent gloves. Go online, look for tactical gloves. Some people are really popular with the puncture-resistant ones, so you don't get plague from people, who happen to have it. They're wandering around, got needles and spines and everything. No, you want to watch that. But whenever you're dealing with any kind of physical confrontation for the kind of thing that WOGs get involved with, you want to make sure you've got gloves. They got to be tight-fitting, got to be able to move. I personally prefer gloves without fingers. But if you're going to be going into a situation you're not aware of, protection is always best. So you want to make sure you use water repellent to treat the outside of your leather gloves to keep them water repellent.